Talk about my biggest pet peeve in baseball and softball, which is poor throwing mechanics. And so we are in the off season. This is a great time for you to shore up those mechanics to get ready to go again in the spring. And so today we're going to go over how you can test those mechanics and how you can make them better by using a 4-inch chunk of PVC. So first, let's talk about why it's important. We want to be as efficient as we can when we throw. I want to use large groups of muscles when I throw. I don't want to use small rotator cuff muscles. I want to use my giant pec, my giant belly, and my giant hip to manage the throw, not small rotator cuff. So I need to be able to load those big giant muscles. When I load those big giant muscles, I can throw faster, I can throw farther, and I can be more accurate. If I can't load those big giant muscles and instead I rely on small muscles, I'm going to end up with an injury. And the biggest injuries we see right now in baseball and softball is shoulder, which can be as minimal as an impingement and as significant as a labral tear. We see a lot of low back, which again can be low back pain or SI dysfunction, or more seriously, a pars fracture as a result of all the rotational stress. And we've seen a significant increase in the number of labral tears, which is a tear in the cartilage of your hip from the compensatory rotatory or rotational stress in your hip as your body tries to find another way to throw. So with my bad throwing form, for example, if my elbow's always dropped, my skinny little rotator cuff muscles get tired quick. So my brain says, we're starting to feel tired. We need to find another body part to help us out. And so your brain will look frantically for another body part to help us throw. And that's where low back injuries and hip injuries come in, as your body's trying to throw your trunk or use other body parts instead of having it be a well-oiled machine of pec fire, belly fire, hip fire for every throw. So today what I'm going to show you is a way to test your throwing form and improve your throwing form, all by using a 4-foot chunk of PVC. And then I would hugely recommend this become part of your warm-up, because it's going to make a monumental difference in the fluidity and power and longevity of your ability to throw once we get back into season. So to sort of test and see where we're at, we're going to break it into two different parts. We're going to test the upper body part and then the lower body part. To test the upper body part, I'm going to take this chunk of PVC and I'm going to put it behind my back. I'm going to put my right hand or my throwing hand at the end of it and get into a good arm slot position. So that elbow, hand, and kind of that 90-90 at your shoulder, and then your left hand is going to be on the other end of the PVC pipe with that palm facing the other way. So we should be opposite hands. So once I get into this position, first of all, can you get up tall? So as I have that PVC pipe across the back of my shoulders, is it killing you to be up here? If it is, we have a problem. Is it killing you to have that arm pulled back here? If it is, we have a problem. Now, there's two different kinds of problems with it. One, is this tight and does it feel incredibly stretchy? Then we can work with that. If you get up here and I feel a pinch or a restriction, or like my arm can't go, stop now. Some people cannot get into the proper arm slot. So are there softball and baseball athletes that I let throw with altered form? Absolutely. Not everybody is built the same way. We don't all have the same joint alignment and joint glide. So if it is truly a restriction based on how your ball and socket is put together that doesn't let you get into this position, we don't want to force and jam that, because then you will end up with a shoulder injury. However, if it is soft tissue restriction, meaning something I can stretch through and it feels stretchy or like I'm pulling, absolutely we can fix that. So if this pinches or if this hurts and getting in that arm slot is a problem, seek medical attention, okay? get in touch with an awesome physical therapist and check that arm slot to see if we have a bony restriction that's not letting you get where you need to be. But if it's just stretchy, let's keep going. So I get into that really good arm slot. This is stretchy, right? So now, can I get into that really good arm slot and can I pull it around the corner? So I'm going to use my bottom hand to literally pull my top hand around the corner. Again, is that really stretchy? If it's really, really stretchy, it means you're probably not getting there when you throw. The brain is a funny thing. We will take the path of least resistance, which means the minute I put my arm up like I'm supposed to throw, my coach is nagging at me to throw that way, and your brain senses a restriction in the front of your shoulder, your brain will say, I don't really want to fight through that restriction. If I drop my elbow 20 degrees, ooh, wait, that feels loose and I don't have to work as hard, so I drop my elbow and throw. I drop my elbow and throw, and pretty soon I have elbow pain, shoulder pain, back pain, hip pain, you pick it. It'll be whichever is the weakest link in the chain, but a problem will occur because my brain is looking for the easiest way to get a task done. So if we want to check the complete load to throw, I'm going to go half kneel, left leg forward, right leg back if I'm a right-handed thrower. I get into my position, I'm going to use the bottom hand to pull that arm around the corner, and I'm going to keep my head focused on my target. Because when we throw, whether we're a pitcher or whether we're an outfielder or an infielder, my head is looking for the target, right? So my ability of my shoulder and my upper back to rotate around my head will affect my throwing slot. Again, if this can't rotate or if my trunk can't rotate around, it will stop. My arm will stop wherever my head tells it to stop. So if I need to be here to see my target, and that's all the further I can go, this is all the further your arm's going to get back when you throw. This is a problem because pulling that arm back or loading, getting that trunk rotated around your head puts my pec on stretch, it puts my oblique on stretch, and it puts my hip on stretch. You put those three muscles on stretch, you're creating a great deal of power. If I can't rotate around the corner and put those on stretch, now I'm relying on smaller rotator cuff muscles to make the same throw, which I'll be able to for a while, but looking at the longevity of the game and the power needed to throw over distance, it's not going to be able to do that for long based on the size of the muscle. So we really, really need that giant pec, that giant oblique, and your hip to help you out. So when I check my position, head on the target, can I rotate around the corner? Then this can now turn into your pre-practice stretch. So I'm literally going to look to the left as I rotate everything else to the right to stretch that out. Okay? Not only does that stretch head, neck, and shoulder, but I'm putting my oblique on stretch and waking it up. If you've been on your electronic device all day, if you've been in school all day, if you've done a lot of things in front of you, we literally lose pec length and oblique length from being forward. We need pec to be long and oblique and rectus to be long to be a really good throwing athlete. So we have to undo the positions we've spent our day in if we're going to get ready to throw a ball. So now let's look at the bottom side of this. Let's look at your follow through. So if we look at follow through, we typically have two different problems. One is a flexibility issue and one is a strength issue. And so in our youth athletes, we see a perfect storm of both because in my male athletes, we have a lot of hamstring tightness, okay? Men grow faster than women, so my femur or my thigh bone grows first and fastest. When it grows first and fastest, my hip flexor gets tight and my hamstring gets tight. This is important in the follow-through because as I come back up here into this position, now I can check my follow-through. I'm in my good arm slot. I rotate around the corner. I see my target. Now I'm going to reach that PVC pipe all the way as far as I can towards my pinky toe. Chest should be to my knee, and knee should be inside of my left shoulder. Okay, if I can bring my knee to my belly button or towards midline and rotate that guy around the corner, I am doing great. But what happens is hamstring gets tight, so instead of being able to rotate over it, we start to go and we fall off of it. So you'll see us bail out and release here, which can increase hip, low back, and shoulder stress, but it also creates issues with aim and accuracy, because as I come through and that hip stops me and I have to let go here, I can't follow through to my target, and it has nothing to do with the fact that I don't understand you want me to throw to second base from the outfield. It's that physically I cannot get through my hamstring. For me to follow through, I have to have really good hamstring length and really, really good TFL length for my pelvis to rotate around and forward. So that flexibility will surely affect the aim of my throw. In the same regards, the strength of this affects that throw as well. I need to be able to follow through, and what controls my forward momentum of my trunk is that hamstring, glute, and then TFL will let me rotate around the corner. If I don't have enough strength and length in those muscles, I'm gonna stop short, which is gonna affect my arm path, my aim, and my power, because you're missing out on the rest of the whip as we follow through. So this strength and length has a big impact in baseball pitchers, both baseball and softball outfielders, who have to make that great big long throw in. I need to be strong enough and long enough through that muscle. So, quick way to test the whole works. Arm back, rotate around the corner. Can I see my target? Push through, knee to belly button, PVC pipe to pinky toe in your left foot, and come back up. So that's your test. Wherever you pull, if it pulls, that's where we need to stretch. If you fall over and you can't even manage this without falling to the ground, now we have more of a strength issue. But again, I can integrate this into every warm-up that I have before I'm gonna pitch, before I'm gonna play catch, before I'm gonna throw. This can be an independent exercise where I reach, follow through, and you're gonna find that it pays big dividends when you try to go back out onto the field come spring and throw a ball. In our next segment, we'll talk about ways to start strengthening and mobilizing that in an upright position to get you closer to more awesome on the field. Thanks.